Hello, loves. It's Britt, astrologer, healer, and spiritual coach here. And today I wanted to do a video talking about healing from an obsessive relationship bond. And for us who are aware of astrology, usually this is going to be shown in the synastry charts by Pluto aspects. Okay, so this video can apply to both people who know astrology and those who do not, although I am going to be referencing these Pluto contacts in this video. So to truly be able to heal, and I almost could have titled this move on from a Pluto relationship or a Plutonic bond, but I didn't, because I truly feel that to heal, sometimes we don't actually have to move on. And, in one sense, with these Pluto relationships, sometimes we never truly move on. We always think of them. We always remember the profound transformative impact that these people have had on our life, whether for positive or destructive. So the first step with this, if you are aware of the astrological synastry combinations going on, you can meditate on these specific connections. And, let's say that the person that you are obsessed with, or you've had this obsessive bond with, this intense relationship, let's say their Pluto is conjunct your Venus or something like that, or vice versa. You can think about that connection and you can meditate on it, and you can think about, okay, what does my Venus represent for me? What sign is it in? What house is it in? What aspects are being made? And through this conjunction, what is being brought up for me? What is needing to be healed for me, right? And you want to take it to another level than just knowing what this contact is, okay? Because just knowing something doesn't always, instigate a miraculous healing just by knowing it. Sometimes it does, sometimes just bringing awareness to something, things just click and it's just like, bam, I'm better. But usually, with the astrology, what I've found personally is that just knowing that a Plutonic relationship is happening, or just knowing that these Pluto aspects are happening in the synastry, it's very helpful, but it doesn't heal you of that intense obsession and ache and longing for that person, or whatever it is that they're triggering with you. It doesn't just automatically go and heal it. But if we allow ourselves to meditate on it and to really deepen our connection and our relationship with our own planet that's being aspected, whether you're the Pluto person, then you're going to meditate on your own Pluto, or whatever planet you are in this relationship, in this synastry connection, you're going to meditate on that and allow your soul to actually guide you to the meaning here and the purpose here, because every relationship has a purpose, right? It's always there to bring you awareness of something. And I know this is what one of my favorite astrologers, Jewel Mayberry, said when I first learned of this Pluto relationship. She was, the one who taught me, so always have to reference her. I don't remember exactly what she says in her videos, because this was back in 2017 when I first watched her videos on this and learned about it. But I know that one of the key concepts of healing from a Plutonic bond is that you have to become what that person represents for you. So you have to, whether it's their Pluto on your Venus, then you're refining something, you're learning something about your own love nature, and there's something about this person that they hold such a power over you. But when you start embodying those qualities, because those are latent qualities within your own self, right? Because people can be mirrors for ourselves. And when we are so obsessed with someone, when they hold so much power over us, it is because we are developing a certain quality that they have. Okay, so this isn't my first Plutonic relationship, but the one that I learned of what this meant, he was representing certain qualities for me that I was developing at the time. And that's what they always are. They're always showing us something that we're developing. But when I, started developing those qualities within myself, it does alleviate the pain, because a lot of the pain is coming from us outsourcing something onto this person. That's why they're so powerful to us, right? They represent something that is within us that is screaming to be developed. And the thing with women, and this is, my personal belief and experience with astrology, some astrologers don't agree with this, but I truly do believe that as women, we do unconsciously tend to outsource our masculine energy. So our sun, our Mars, and our Jupiter and Saturn too, potentially, onto a man, okay? And we find a man who represents those qualities and we become obsessed with him, or we become attached to him, or we, sometimes this can be done in a healthy way, right? Because, like, let's say you're with your husband, and yes, he's going to represent these masculine qualities. And, when you're having children and you're needing to tend to that, and you're breastfeeding all night, and you're, yes, sometimes we actually do need to outsource these masculine qualities in a relationship, and they can, take care of certain things for us, and we can, do the things that we are required to do as women, like birth the children and feed them and care for them and nurture them. And so, a little bit of this in a relationship is not bad, to outsource some of your masculine to a man. But when we're having this obsessive Plutonic synastry bond, quite likely it's not in that situation. It's in an unhealthy way where, we're obsessed with this man. Let's say, for me, at times it's been like, okay, a businessman or something like that. That was a sign for me that I was supposed to be developing my business and, doing more of my things of my Capricorn midheaven and, things like that. So, like, if you're a woman and you're becoming obsessed with, and then, back in previous times for me, it was like I would be obsessed with these guitar players or these musicians. And, I was actually being called to work more on my guitar playing at those times. And so for men, it's the same, right? So men can have a tendency to outsource their moon and Venus to a woman and become totally obsessed with a woman who is representing those inner feminine qualities that are longing to be expressed within them. So, me personally, I do believe sometimes in a relationship that is healthy, we do naturally outsource some of our masculine, and men outsource some of their feminine to their wife or their husband, or, vice versa, right? We do that, and that's okay, that's healthy. But when it's becoming destructive, and when you're obsessed with someone, when you can't stop thinking about them, when you are having a hard time focusing on other things in life, it's a good idea to, meditate on that planet that you feel like you've outsourced to them, and call it back. Call back those soul fragments. Call back that energy, okay? So for me, my Mars is in Leo. So sometimes with Mars and Leo, and the Mars and Leo woman especially, she can really have a lot of energy spent focusing on the man and building him up to like godlike proportions that he could never possibly live up to. Maybe he can, but there's a lot of energy spent when Mars and Leo is just totally focused on a man. So what I've realized with that is that there's a lot of fire and energy, and no man needs that much attention. And actually my Mars and Leo, which rules my whole chart, it's meant to be expressed in a certain way for me. And sometimes I'll find that when I'm getting overly obsessed with a man who represents those qualities, it's actually a sign that I'm meant to call back my energy and be more of that Mars and Leo for myself. Okay. So when we're having these kind of obsessive astrological bonds, it's a good idea to look at and really like analyze yourself. Okay. What are they bringing out of me? Like, what am I outsourcing to them? What do I need to call back and become more of? And usually, even just by consciously choosing to call back that energy and start acting on it. Like, let's say if it's Mars, acting like more of your Mars, or if it's Venus, bringing back more of your Venus into your life. Sometimes even just that will alleviate the painful part of this relationship, and you'll be able to just continue on, and it won't be like an unhealthy obsession. Not that it's going to completely release you of all thoughts of them, but it will help soothe you when you're able to figure that out. So this part of the video, that first part, yeah, that was inspired by Jewel Mayberry. She's really awesome. Check out her videos. I believe she says something along those lines for healing this type of bond. The next part is going to be more understandable by people who don't understand astrology. So this is what I found personally to work really, really well, is bring in a type of energy healing or a type of energy work to actually help yourself with the beliefs that are being triggered. So when we are feeling obsessed with someone, or, you know, intensely longing, craving for them, and it's taking away our focus from our life or whatever, it's a good idea to get into a meditative state and just ask yourself, and this is sort of a summarization of my own 5-step healing process. Other healing processes that I've used that are similar, theta healing, really helpful. So you ask yourself, okay, what is the belief being triggered here? And usually you're going to get something, you know, like the triggered feeling or emotion or belief is something like, I'm going to be alone forever, or what's another common one? I'm unlovable. No one will love me for me. Like, you want to really go into yourself and meditate on, okay, what's the emotion being triggered by this person? With Pluto, a lot of times it's fear, okay? And a lot of times there's past life energy of betrayal, shock, abandonment, you know, these wounds of humanity that we all carry on some level. Often they're going to be triggered by this type of Pluto relationship. So it could be a fear of loss. It could be a fear of betrayal. It could be a fear. It could even come down to like a physical fear too, because some of us have had, you know, relationships where, you know, maybe like, yeah, our spouse has been murdered in front of our eyes, or you know, we've been, you know, taken away from our love, or, you know, in past lifetimes, maybe they had to go to war and die or something. So like there's many different past life potential realities that could be triggering fear in the body when we're experiencing this type of relationship. So you want to really go into yourself and ask yourself, okay, what's being triggered here? And quite often it's going to be multiple beliefs, right? It's not just going to be one belief. It's going to be many beliefs being triggered in the emotional body and the energy field. And so you want to look at those, and then you want to do your own type of healing practice however you see fit, okay? And call back the soul fragments, okay? When we've gone through a traumatic event in a past life or present life, we lose a piece of our soul, and we need to call it back washed in the light, okay? And rewire the belief, change the belief. So if the belief is like, I'm alone, I'll always be alone, I fear being alone, or something like that, bring in, I'm always connected to unconditional love, I'm always connected with my soulmate people, my soul tribe, and imagine that belief just like clicking in and downloading in. You might want to like, you know, do some type of snapping or do some type of movement in the body, or just imagine it, visualize it. Have your own way with this. I mean, there's many healing modalities. I'm a practitioner of many, and I kind of just mix them all together and invent my own, but do it in a way that feels personally meaningful to you. And as you kind of sift through each belief, and you'll find that a Plutonic relationship is going to trigger multiple. So you can work with like one belief one night, and then the next night when you're doing your healing practice on yourself, work with the next belief. And what you'll find is that day by day, and you know, the more you keep doing this, you actually become whole, you actually become healed, you become happy, you become less obsessed with them, you become more detached from it. Like maybe you still want them, you still want to be with them, but now you're kind of coming from this healthy place, and you'll know that you've healed and shifted, because what was once so intense and scary and like triggering so much in your emotional body, you'll be more lighthearted about, you'll laugh about it. Maybe like if you really get to a good place, you'll think, wow, that's kind of funny how triggered I was, you know. And so that's how you'll know that you've really made progress in healing, is that what was once so triggering to you, which was what was once bringing up so much fear, is actually kind of a joke now. And you know, it might take a while to get to that place. Like for that Pluto relationship that really was it for me, that made me aware of all of this, I did a healing on myself every night for probably like months at a time before I was able to get to a good place with it. And even then, it still lingered in my field for like years until, and then, okay, here's the next part. The next way to get over or feel healed from a Pluto relationship is you'll find someone new. You'll find someone else who activates you in this way. And I know when you're stuck on the first person, you'll feel like you never will be affected by anyone new in that way. Like that relationship was beyond anything ever. This is how it can feel with intense Pluto contacts. You feel like you'll just never have a love like that again, or you'll never feel like that again. But then as you continue to heal and do your healing practices, all of a sudden it hits you again with another person. And, for me, I never thought that this would happen with my late husband. So I actually had a Plutonic relationship with my husband in spirit. He is now passed on. And that's even a representation of Pluto. Like that is like, so his Pluto was opposite my Venus. His Pluto was in conjunct my sun. His Pluto was in my 7th house, opposite my Venus, my 1st house. My Venus rules my 7th house. And then also my Pluto would have been square his ascendant. And then in the composite chart, our Pluto was trine Sun. So it actually worked out beneficially. So it was quite Plutonic. It manifested actually more in a healthier way, probably, than some can. But I did feel like that, when he died, I felt like, okay, I will never have a love like this again. And this is like, that's it for me, And as time went on, I feel like also he guided me from spirit to realize this too, that like, of course you will, right? But that's how it feels with a Plutonic relationship. You feel like nothing will ever equal the intensity and the power of that love until something does, right? So, this last part of my message on this video is just giving you hope that, yes, maybe you've been obsessed with a person for 5 years or longer, and, you think there'll never be anybody else who could affect you like that. And then they do. And then they do. And then they come into your life. And, something that happened with me. So that first Plutonic relationship that maybe manifested in more of a externally negative sense for me, but actually promoted me to have this huge healing journey where I was like healing myself every day. And then, I cleared so much stuff. So that relationship sort of lingered in my field until one day I actually said this prayer. And I said a prayer, and whether you believe in God or not, source, universe, whatever, but I said a prayer to God, and I just said, God, allow this person to come back in my life, or send me my next soulmate who's going to actually love me and be with me. Something along the lines of that. I said a prayer like that because I was just done with the non-contact and whatever I had going on with that lingering karmic Pluto relationship. I was like, no, I'm ready. And I knew for a long time that I was meant to have a child. So it wasn't really in the cards for me to keep not being physically with a man. So I said this prayer, and literally within 2 weeks, I met the next one. Okay. And within a month, we had our first date. And within 2 months, we conceived our child. And within a few months after that, we were engaged. And then a couple years after that, he had passed on. So I guess the whole point of my story is just that when you're really done with things being a certain way in one Pluto relationship and you're actually ready for the physical manifestation of your next relationship, you could say a prayer for it and just really be open to whatever comes and be open to it looking differently than what maybe you would have thought. And then if they die, I'm going to have to do a whole nother video on healing the grief and loss and the shock and trauma of everything like that. That's a whole separate video, but that is also possible too, you guys. And yeah, there's still a potential for joy and for lightness and for happiness and peace and the manifestation of your heart's desires, even in going through anything. And, you know, sometimes it's these platonic relationships that will help you realize just that, because they can be so dark and so intense and, you know, so powerfully felt that it is almost scary, you know, but they can really show you that no matter what they bring up, you can stand there like the warrior you are and, yeah, like be reborn, you know, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. That's really the ultimate lesson behind these relationships. So yeah, that's just kind of a summary. Would be, you know, first step, just study the astrology and study the unique aspects being made in the synastry chart or in the composite chart, and meditate on it, and meditate on the part of you that's being activated, the part of you that's maybe being disowned and projected onto the other person that you need to call back. Okay, so that's the astrology part. The second part is actually heal yourself, do some emotional work, however that fits for you, however your belief is in that. Do some type of work to heal and soothe the emotional body and the fears being triggered. And then the third part is just know that even though you feel like maybe you'll never feel like this again, and there's no way any relationship could ever equal this level of intensity, just know that that's not true. You will have it again, okay? And you'll have it maybe many times. I mean, it depends on your unique birth chart. I mean, for me, I don't know if you guys have seen my Pluto in the 8th house video. So I have Pluto in the 8th house in Scorpio at 29 degrees retrograde, and it's ruling my north node in Scorpio in the 7th house. So I feel like these kind of relationships are just my thing. You know, I've been doing this since I was a teenager, these relationships with men. I've been learning from them, and it's just kind of a part of my soul plan. So, you know, for some of us, we're just right there in it, and we're just meant to learn these lessons through these plutonic bonds. And so I hope this video was helpful, and I hope that you got something out of it. And yeah, like that's something that I've learned, is sometimes just studying the astrology, it doesn't actually heal you. We need to use it in combination with some type of healing. That's why I do both. So I do the astrology, but then I also do the energy work, and I feel like that's the perfect combo, really, for me personally. That's my thing. So I do offer one-on-one sessions. I do synastry sessions. That's one of my favorite things to do, doing the couples charts and composite charts. And then also I do a one-on-one soul purpose session, going deep into your unique soul purpose. So yeah, and I also offer healing sessions as well. I usually just talk about my astrology on here, but I do offer healing sessions as well, and all are on my website in the links below. Okay, love you guys. Let me know what you thought of this video. I'd love to hear about your Pluto relationship or your obsessive relationship, and I hope this has helped. Okay, bye.